What if the most beautiful part of your garden was made from something you almost threw away? Welcome to Backyard Fortune, the place where discarded items find a second life under the sun. In today's video, we're exploring 10+ thrift hacks to turn everyday junk into magical garden art. This isn't just recycling, it's reinvention. And yes, we've included timestamps so you can jump to the ideas that inspire you most. Have questions? Just drop them in the comments. Let's begin. One, Lantern Bird Feeder Revival. What if beauty doesn't begin with perfection, but with rediscovery? What if a forgotten lantern and a chipped teacup could hold not just seeds, but stories? In the quiet hush of a garden morning, there's a lantern hanging from a low branch. Its metal is worn, kissed by time and weather, but that's what makes it lovely. No longer lighting paths, this vintage piece now cradles a teacup, and in it? A simple offering, seeds, color, and welcome. Nearby, a sparrow pauses, tiny claws gripping the porcelain edge, its feathers brushing sunlight. Lavender blooms below, and the scent floats gently with the breeze. It doesn't feel like decor, it feels like memory, like home. These bird feeders aren't built from new things. They're made from what once was. A thrift lantern, perhaps once on a shelf collecting dust. A teacup missing its saucer, floral prints faded by tea and time. But in your hands, they come alive again. To recreate this at home, you don't need much. Find an old lantern, the kind with an open base works best. Clean it gently, keeping the rust and patina if you like that nostalgic charm. Next, fit a sturdy teacup into the lantern center, using wire or twine to secure it if needed. Fill it with birdseed, sunflower, millet, or your local songbird's favorite. And then, hang it. From a tree branch, a shepherd's hook, or even a garden pergola. Somewhere quiet, where birds feel safe and you can still catch a glimpse. Some choose to paint their lanterns in pastel hues, or golds and bronzes that shimmer in the afternoon sun. Others leave them raw, letting rain and air sculpt their surface naturally. Either way, the beauty lies in the contrasts, iron and porcelain, structure and softness, age and renewal. And then there's the setting. Surround your lantern feeder with life. Trailing ivy on fences, marigolds and daisies along the garden path, soft moss below. The birds will come, of course. But so will butterflies, bees, perhaps even a wandering squirrel or two. And when the light catches just right, your little corner will glow like something out of a storybook. This isn't about creating something big or elaborate. It's about inviting life back in, through kindness, through reuse, and through wonder. It's about giving broken things a second chance. Not polished, not perfect, but real and deeply yours. So before you toss that old lantern, before you hide away that lone teacup with a chip on its rim, pause. Imagine. And let a piece of your garden become a little stage for magic. Because beauty doesn't have to shout. Sometimes, it just needs to swing gently in the breeze. Two, Teacup Mushroom Garden Stakes. There's something magical that happens when playfulness meets imagination, especially in a garden. Somewhere between rows of strawberries and sprays of marigold, a gentle transformation has taken place. Teacups, the kind once held during quiet mornings or joyful tea times, now bloom upside down like cheerful mushrooms. Their colors are bold, playful, and unapologetically happy. Firetruck red, bubblegum blue, soft lilac, sunflower yellow, and grass green, each one dotted with spots as if plucked from a fairy tale. They rise on slender stakes, peeking above beds of clover and zinnias, surrounded by butterflies and sunlight. But these aren't just decorations. They're little bursts of story. You can almost picture a tiny garden sprite curling beneath one during a summer drizzle, or a ladybug climbing its handle like a curved bridge. This project begins with simplicity: a teacup, a wooden or metal dowel, a little glue, and a sprinkle of color. Flip the cup upside down. Paint it boldly or softly. There are no rules in a garden made with heart. If you're feeling extra whimsical, add white dots, stripes, or even tiny hand-drawn vines. Mount the teacup on a stake using outdoor-safe adhesive or clay, then plant it firmly into the soil. That's it. That's the beginning of your enchanted mushroom path. The beauty of these stakes is how they invite wonder, from children running barefoot to birds that land curiously on their domes. They don't demand symmetry or perfection. In fact, their charm often lives in their slight tilt or mismatched colors. When placed in rows along a winding path, they transform an ordinary garden bed into something that looks like it belongs in a secret world, hidden from busy eyes. They shine brightest at golden hour, when soft sunlight paints warm edges around everything it touches. Dew collects on their tops in the early morning like polished pearls. And in the stillness of twilight, they cast tiny shadows on the soil, reminding us that joy doesn't need to be grand. Sometimes it just needs to be playful. What I love most about this idea is how accessible it is. Old mugs from a thrift store, those teacups you couldn't part with but haven't used in years, they now have purpose. It's not just recycling, it's storytelling. You're not discarding, you're evolving. You're letting color and character take root. So if your garden feels too serious, or your soul feels like it could use a smile, try this. Plant a mushroom made from joy. Watch how it transforms not just the soil beneath it, but the spirit within you. Because sometimes, the best magic starts with a cup turned upside down. Three, draw a mosaic succulent planter. In a quiet garden corner, where time seems to pause and the breeze hums a gentle lullaby, something enchanting begins to take shape, not with expensive tools or pristine materials, but with cast-off treasures and a little heart. An old wooden drawer, long separated from its dresser, finds a second life beneath the soft dappled shade of a fig tree. Its front is no longer plain but now adorned with joyful shards, coral, sky blue, creamy white, tiled like a whimsical jigsaw of memories. Each piece carries a past, once part of a teacup, a plate, a tile, now reborn into mosaic art. Inside the drawer, plump succulents stretch and curl with character, their rosettes rising like miniature sculptures from a bed of rich soil. The sunlight dances across their leaves, highlighting the subtle glimmers in the glazed fragments below. Not far from this, another drawer sits quietly, but its face tells a more intricate story. The pieces here are from vintage porcelain, adorned with delicate prints, blossoms, vines, and old-world motifs. Cracked china once thought broken beyond repair now celebrates imperfection. Tiny bees drift lazily in the warm air, curious about the new blooms nestled in stone and succulent. It's a planter, yes, but also a canvas of history, of domestic moments now rooted in the soil of something entirely new. Then there is the boldest transformation yet, where the drawer becomes a vibrant celebration of color and texture. Fragments of sea glass green, mustard yellow, sunflower gold, and cobalt blue collide in joy. Round pieces from old saucers sit proudly like medallions, framed by smaller tiles and peppered with mirror chips that catch and throw the sunlight like glittering whispers. Planted with echeverias, jade plants, and sedum, the drawer rests proudly atop bricks, surrounded by strawberry pots and mint sprigs. It doesn't pretend to be perfect. It simply is, handmade, heartfelt, and utterly alive. And isn't that the magic? These drawer planters don't require perfection or even precision. Just a little creativity, a willingness to see beauty in broken things, and the joy of watching something grow. Start with an old drawer, salvaged from a thrift store, a curbside rescue, or forgotten in your attic. Line it with a waterproof layer if needed. Arrange your broken tiles or dishware slowly, piece by piece, letting the shapes and colors guide you. No rules, just rhythm. Once your mosaic is set and grouted, Fill the drawer with well-draining soil. Choose succulents. They are resilient, sculptural, and thrive with little care. Let the plants settle into the space. Let your creativity spill beyond the soil. The result? Not just a garden feature, but a story. One you built. One that lives. So, next time you pass an old drawer or crack a favorite mug, don't throw it away. Let it become something more. Something blooming, beautiful, and utterly yours. Four, vintage chair garden bloomers. In the quiet hush of morning light, when the garden stretches and yawns beneath the golden sun, something magical waits to be noticed, not store-bought, not pristine, but perfectly imperfect. A vintage chair, once forgotten in the attic or salvaged from a roadside corner, takes center stage as a blooming sculpture of renewal. Beneath the generous arms of an old tree, a weathered wooden chair now cradles a living bouquet. Its seat, long gone, has been lovingly replaced with a wire basket lined in soft burlap. From this humble cradle, trailing ivy spills like a verdant waterfall, while cheerful petunias and snapdragons reach skyward in joyful bloom. Around its legs, terracotta pots gather like friends at a fireside, each holding a story of herbs, wild mint, and memories in the making. It's a place where time slows, where you might sip tea and listen to the soft hush of petals unfurling. Further along the path, a pale blue chair glows in the sunlight, nestled in the arms of daisies and lavender. The frame leans just slightly, not from weariness, but from character, its seat transformed into a cradle of time and calming herbs. A robin visits, as if to approve, perched like punctuation on the edge of this quiet masterpiece. Vines creep gently over the arms, as though the garden itself is embracing the chair, weaving it into its story. It's a sweet reminder that nothing is ever truly obsolete, just waiting for a new purpose, a second chance. And there, tucked among the strawberry beds and wooden crates, stands a rattan chair like a whisper from the past. Its woven frame hugs a tray of freshly planted pansies, their bright faces glowing like painted silk. Around it, pots of strawberries burst with glossy fruit and green promise. It is a scene of gentle abundance, a celebration of texture and life and hand-touched beauty. One can almost feel the earth breathing softly beneath. These aren't merely decorations, they are quiet revolutions. Simple chairs, once considered junk, now bloom with intention and soul. No special tools needed. Just soil, seeds, a bit of love, and a willingness to see not what is, but what could be. So if you have an old chair waiting in a corner, don't toss it. Let it become a garden altar. Let it tell a story with flowers and light. Let it grow something new. In a world that often rushes, these moments of transformation ground us. They remind us that the magic we seek is already in our hands, and perhaps under our feet. Five, Colander hanging flower baskets. Have you ever looked at an old kitchen colander and imagined it becoming something more than just a forgotten tool in the back of a cupboard? Now imagine this. That humble colander, once used to drain pasta or rinse vegetables, finds a second life. Suspended mid-air, transformed into a floating cradle of blooms, catching light and hearts alike. In a quiet corner of the garden, where dappled sunlight filters through ivy-laced pergolas, a soft aqua colander hangs by rustic chains. Inside it, white alyssum spills like gentle lace between bursts of pink and violet petunias. The perforated metal scatters tiny spots of light across the wood below, like nature's own pattern of poetry. Butterflies flit near the flowers, drawn to the subtle motion of this hanging bouquet. It's a scene that doesn't shout, it hums softly, contentedly, with the peace of a midsummer afternoon. Nearby, under the comforting shade of a sturdy old tree, another colander swings lazily. Its enamel chipped from time, its handle kissed with rust, it nonetheless glows with character. Pansies peek out playfully, their faces bright and whimsical, nestled in a bed of moss that brings an earthy softness to the metal. Behind it, a faded green fence becomes a canvas for climbing vines, while below, ripe strawberries peek through raised beds. This is a place of gentle mischief, where time slows down and old things find new joy. And then, a sunlit nook bursts with cheerful color. 3 colanders, painted in candy tones of pink, yellow, and blue, hang from a wooden trellis like lanterns of life. Each is alive with daisies and geraniums, swaying slightly in the breeze. Shadows dance beneath them, and a garden gnome looks on, half smiling. It's hard not to feel your spirit lift here. The scene isn't just beautiful, it's happy, whimsical, real. This is the heart of DIY garden magic, not just about saving money or reducing waste, but about seeing differently. It's about giving objects a second chance, a new rhythm, a softer ending. If you're inspired to try it yourself, you don't need much. An old colander, a bit of chain or twine, some soil and plants you love. You can line the inside with moss or landscape fabric to hold the soil, and let the drainage holes do what they were always meant to, just in a more beautiful, unexpected way. Hang them from a beam, a tree, or a lattice wall. Let nature do the rest. And as you watch the flowers bloom where kitchenware once lived, you may find that the garden is not just changing, it's changing you. So look around your home, your shed, your thrift finds, and ask, what else could bloom if I just gave it a little light? Six, rubber boot flower pots. In a quiet corner of a blooming garden, a pair of small yellow boots stands proudly beneath a rainbow umbrella. Once worn by playful feet that dance through puddles and chased butterflies, they now hold cosmos and clover, colors bursting from their tops like laughter frozen in time. Bees hum softly in the air, strawberries blush nearby, and every petal sways to a rhythm only the garden seems to know. This is where joy lives, in the humble heart of something once forgotten. And then, not far away, tucked against a weathered stone wall, stand more rubber boots. Pink and green, speckled with the stories of rainy days and muddy adventures. Now, they've been given a second chance, filled with zinnias, calendulas, and clouds of baby's breath. A little sign whispers from beside them, "Garden starts here." It feels like an invitation, a beginning, not just for flowers, but for us too, to look again at what we almost threw away. Beneath the dappled shade of a fruit tree, red and blue boots lean closely, side by side. Inside them grow sweet peas, mint, and trailing ivy that dances down to kiss the ground. A wooden bench nearby holds painted pebbles, clay pots, and a memory of hands that love to create. The scene feels like a page from a children's book, quiet, simple, and full of wonder. But these aren't just decorations. They're a reminder that beauty doesn't always begin in stores or with brand new things. It begins with a glance, a pause, and the courage to imagine a new story for something old. Rubber boots become pots. Junk becomes joy. And your backyard? It becomes a haven, not for perfection, but for imagination. So if you have an old pair of boots sitting by your door, don't toss them. Fill them with flowers, with herbs, with hope, because sometimes the most magical gardens begin at our feet. Seven, succulent picture frame wall art. There is something enchanting about seeing nature framed like a work of art. When we take forgotten picture frames, weathered with time, and invite life to grow within them, We don't just create garden decor, we craft stories, memories, and still-life masterpieces that breathe. In the first image, a rustic wooden frame, aged to a soft white and brushed by the sun, clings gently to a fence. Chicken wire stretches across the back, cradling tufts of moss, tiny succulent rosettes, and creeping tendrils of sedum that spill like strokes from a gentle painter's hand. Marigolds bloom below like a burst of applause, while leafy vines climb up beside it, reaching toward the sky. This piece whispers of patience and transformation, an old frame reborn with living color. Then, there's the golden frame. Mounted against a brick wall, it commands attention like a classical painting. Inside, a swirling palette of succulents, greens, purples, blues, dances with symmetry and surprise. Broken terracotta shards emerge from the soil like ancient ruins, adding texture and storytelling. Butterflies flutter near, as if drawn by the magic. A hummingbird hovers mid-air, completing the illusion. This is not just a frame, it's a window into a secret garden world where everything forgotten blooms again with purpose. And finally, in a quiet corner where afternoon light lingers, a third frame leans softly against a wall. Wrapped in burlap and filled with earth, it gently hosts a collage of echeveria, dusty miller, and trailing pearls. Ladybugs patrol the moss edges as if guarding a secret treasure. The textures are soft, the colors muted yet alive. It feels intimate, like a journal entry written in leaves. These frames are more than crafts, they are meditations. They remind us that you don't need grand budgets or new materials to create something extraordinary. Just a frame, a handful of soil, a touch of greenery, and the patience to let nature grow where art used to hang. And perhaps most beautifully, anyone can do this. If you have an old frame tucked away, a bit of moss from the shade, or a pot of succulents on your windowsill, then you already have what it takes. Let the frame become your canvas, and let your garden tell the story. '8. Whimsical Fairy Garden Village. Beneath the gentle canopy of garden shrubs, where sunlight weaves through the leaves in soft golden threads, a miniature world begins to bloom. It's not just a decoration. It's a story, handcrafted with heart, from bits of forgotten things. Welcome to your very own whimsical fairy garden village, a magical retreat made from what others might throw away. Here, small tin cans become charming cottages, their roofs dressed in moss or tiny bark shingles. Pebbles, thoughtfully arranged, wind into paths that lead visitors on a journey through meadows of marigolds and crimson clover. Bottle caps? They become fairy-sized chairs. Pine cones? A rustic woodland feast. As you walk deeper into this enchanting scene, you'll discover teacup houses tucked under blooms, their warm, glowing windows crafted from old corks and twigs. Steps carved from leftover tiles lead to an arched gate, while a reused mason jar glows beside it, transformed into a terrarium lantern holding tiny figurines that seem frozen mid-conversation, as if the fairies just stepped away to let us peek. There's whimsy in every detail. Mushroom houses with red caps peek out like a dream from your childhood stories, standing guard along fences made from twigs and twine. Acorn-capped lanterns softly flicker at dusk, their light dancing along cobblestone paths formed from polished garden stones. What makes this fairy village truly magical isn't just the way it looks, it's the way it was made. No fancy tools. No expensive supplies. Just a handful of discarded items, a little glue, a lot of imagination, and your hands. Start with what you have, an old tin, some bark, a few stones from the path. Let nature and nostalgia guide you. Let the kids join in, or build it in quiet solitude. It doesn't need to be perfect. In fact, the imperfections are what make it feel alive, as if the fairies built it themselves while we weren't looking. This is more than decor. It's a place of peace. A garden within your garden. A reminder that even the simplest junk, a lid, a stump, a jar, can become a door to wonder when love and creativity are poured into it. So next time you're about to throw something out, ask yourself, Could this become a piece of a tiny world? Because in this garden, magic isn't just alive, it's handmade. Nine, mosaic stepping stones from junk. In the quiet hours of morning, when the garden still holds the dew of dawn, a winding path begins to emerge, not from stone or brick, but from memory, playfulness, and forgotten treasures. Here, each step becomes a story, each circle a symbol of transformation. You'll find no expensive materials or polished perfection on this path. Instead, castaway bottle caps, vintage buttons, worn-out marbles, and pieces of old teacups press into round cement molds like sacred relics of the everyday. These are stepping stones sculpted from the humble heart of recycling, an art form born of curiosity and love for the earth. Placed among soft thyme and patches of moss, the stones feel as though they grew there. Some carry playful shapes, gears, hearts, and suns, while others keep to a gentle circle, echoing the rhythm of nature. They aren't just decorations, they're invitations. To slow down, to look closely, to walk barefoot and feel connected again to something simple and honest. Under the lavender's whisper, another path stretches forward. This one dazzles like a mosaic dream, intricate, vibrant, and undeniably handmade. Shards of ceramic, sea glass, old jewelry, and colored pebbles sparkle under the afternoon sun. It feels like wandering through a memory garden, where every step recalls a moment once discarded and now reclaimed. The stones don't align perfectly. They bend slightly here, curve gently there. But that's the point. There's beauty in this irregularity. It tells us that not everything needs symmetry to shine. In fact, what's broken can be reassembled into something even more magnificent. You just need to look at it differently. Among the dandelions and fluttering butterflies, the path takes a more whimsical turn. Heart-shaped stones bear antique keys, pressed like secrets kept safe in stone. Painted rocks, bright blue, marbled pink, and sun-kissed orange, dot the gray cement like tiny galaxies. Some designs seem deliberate, others spontaneous, like laughter preserved in stone. It doesn't take much to start. A mold, a bag of quick-set concrete, and a drawer full of trinkets you once thought useless. An old brooch, a ceramic chip from a broken plate, marbles from childhood, even beach shells and rusty keys. Each piece has weight, not just physical, but emotional. And when set in cement, they whisper stories only your garden can hear. This is not just DIY. It's a return to something tactile, healing, and imaginative. It's the kind of project you don't just see, you feel. It lives beneath your feet, grows between the grass, and glows when the light hits it just right. So take your time. Create without pressure. Let your path meander. Let it reflect you. Because in a world chasing perfection, these little stepping stones remind us, there's magic in what we already have, especially when we choose to make it beautiful again. Ten, mirror and CD light reflectors. In the hush of morning light, where the breeze carries secrets of the trees and petals dance with the dew, magic quietly happens, not with spells or gold, but with the forgotten things we once threw away. A single garden corner, bathed in dappled sunlight, becomes a canvas for light and motion. Here, old cedius hang from branches like enchanted medallions. They sway with the wind, catching sunlight and casting soft rainbows across a patchwork of daisies and cosmos. Each glimmer becomes a moment of delight, nature and human hands in quiet collaboration. Behind them, a mirror framed in driftwood reflects the open sky. It doesn't just bounce light, it opens space, tricking the eye and heart into believing the garden is endless. This is no ordinary decor, it's a whisper of wonder crafted from waste. Not far from this enchanted corner, another story unfolds on a wooden fence. A handmade mirror display, shaped like a blooming flower, reflects the world in circles of soft silver. Made from thrift compact mirrors and a humble wooden base, it turns a plain boundary into a thoughtful art piece. Below, the ferns unfurl like green lace, and bees hum their approval. And just beside them, a chandelier dangles like stardust caught in daylight, beads, CDS, old plastic gems, all strung together into a sparkling cascade. It twinkles as it turns, like music without a sound. And then, the most curious part of this garden, a gallery of reflections rising from the earth. Rustic wooden posts bear frames filled with shattered mirror tiles. Each shard catches a different angle. One flashes blue sky, another reflects yellow petals, and yet another captures the passing shape of a bird. These fractured mirrors, once broken and useless, now sing with the rhythm of sunlight. And in the center, a single CD spins gently on its string, scattering glints of color across the thyme and rosemary below. It doesn't just decorate the garden, it becomes part of the living story. These are not just decorations. They are conversations. Between light and shade. Between memory and possibility. And between you and your garden. So if you have a few old CDs, broken mirrors, unused frames, don't throw them out. Hang them. Arrange them. Let them shimmer. Because sometimes, the most beautiful things are born not from what we buy, but from what we choose to see differently. And there you have it, from broken mirrors to old CDs, your garden can become a gallery of creativity and second chances. If this video sparked an idea, share it in the comments, we'd love to hear your favorite transformation. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss more magical DIYs right here on Backyard Fortune. Until next time, keep creating beauty, one piece of junk at a time.